Imagine this. The arena lights dim, the crowd hushes, then, boom! Michael Jordan meets your insult with cold calculation, like a coiled spring snapping tight. He processes not with fury, but with a strategist's calm. That slight becomes the spark.
And he said, you know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm gonna give it to this dude. Michael didn't want anybody to have nothing over him.
Call him a con man? MJ responded with 51 points and a stare down that echoed through Chicago's subway tunnels. Call him soft? Jordan buried a half-court bomb as if physics didn't apply. This isn't hype. It's muscle memory. Let's crank the volume. Because we're about to relive 5 moments when Michael Jordan didn't just win, he settled the score. And when MJ comes for revenge, you don't just lose. You remember. Are you ready to step inside MJ's head? This is the kind of story we live for here at Amazing Hoops. The rivalries, the legends, the moments when a single insult becomes the spark for basketball's most ruthless performances. So if you love the sport, if you crave the drama, the history, and the greatness, hit subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and join us courtside. And right now, without making you wait a second longer, this is 5 times Michael Jordan transformed disrespect into performances his opponents would remember forever. The 20th of January, 1997, the night before the storm. Knicks head coach Jeff Van Gundy is standing in front of reporters, talking about Michael Jordan with that mix of respect and candor only a coach in the NBA's trenches can muster. But then, he says something that stops pens mid-scribble. Jordan, he claims, has a trick. He'll play golf with you, share a laugh, make you feel like a friend, and then, once the ball goes up, physically tries to destroy you. On the surface, it's an observation, but the way it lands in the Chicago Tribune the next morning, bold type, front and center, makes it sound like a jab. And to Michael Jordan, a jab is never just a jab, it's a dare. And years later, during his Hall of Fame speech, MJ made it clear exactly how he felt about those words.
Then you had your little guy who was on your staff who became the Knicks coach after you, Jeff Van Gundy. He said, I conned the players, I befriended them, and then I attack them on the basketball court. Where did that come from? I just so happen to be a friendly guy. I get along with everybody, but at the same time, when the light comes on, I'm as competitive as anybody you know.
In his mind, those words are as good as taping the quote to the United Center's locker room wall. By the time the 21st of January rolls around, the setting is perfect. Bulls versus Knicks in Chicago. The Garden swagger is replaced by the United Center's rumble, and from the tip, you can feel it. MJ's in hunt mode. There's a sharpness in his cuts, an edge in his footwork. He's not just playing basketball tonight. He's prosecuting a case, possession by possession. And in MJ's own words,
but they've always played me well. I don't think, on the court, they're befriending me by no means. And I don't go on the court expecting, to make friends. I go out there to play the game of basketball like I know how to play. When I leave the game, when I leave the court, I don't take, what happened on the court away from the game, and I respect everybody for a human being. We only play a game, He viewed it as, maybe a war away from the game as well as on the court, and I don't view that, and, if he feels like, I take advantage of my friends, that's fine.
After every jumper, every drive, he glances toward the Knicks bench, locking eyes with Van Gundy. The look says it all. You wrote the check, coach. I'm here to cash it. The game itself becomes a masterclass in Jordan's ability to weaponize motivation. He works the mid-range like a scalpel, punishes mismatches in the post, and runs the break with surgical precision. The Knicks, a defense built on physicality, can't keep him out of rhythm. By halftime, the crowd already senses something is brewing. By the fourth quarter, it's undeniable. Jordan's sitting at 49 points. Charlie Ward tries to crowd him, but MJ rocks back, plants that familiar fadeaway swish. 51. The building detonates, and there's Van Gundy on the sideline, pacing, watching the scoreboard like it's a ticking clock he can't slow down. As MJ would later explain,
It didn't go too deep, because I'm a little bit bigger than that, and quite naturally, I didn't want his mind game to play with me.
Is he like a young player, though, Michael, where he's a young coach? I mean, did he maybe pay his dues before he can start talking like that?
That's not my call, and You know, if that's his way of motivating his players, he wants to take a page out of Pat Riley's book, you know, that's fine. I respect him as that, and I wish him the best. It's just that when he comes to Chicago, we view a different thing.
But the real exclamation point isn't on the floor. It's what happens after the final buzzer. Multiple accounts from that night, including beat reporters and former Bulls staff, say that instead of turning toward his teammates to celebrate, Jordan made a beeline for the Knicks tunnel. He wanted to find Van Gundy. And when he did, the verbal exchange wasn't for the cameras. No polite handshake, no good game. Just a pointed personal reminder that you don't feed Michael Jordan ammunition unless you're ready to watch him fire. The postgame told its own story. In a locker room interview, a reporter asked, and Van Gundy quickly shot back,
Any regrets about the comments made somewhat in jest about Michael Jordan? It seemed like he kind of took heed and lit up 51 points tonight. Any regrets?
What's that now? I couldn't
You
hear you.
regret saying some of the things throughout the course of the week about Michael Jordan?
I didn't say anything this week about it.
When asked years later, Jordan recalled the moment in detail.
Did you take it personally when Van Gundy called you a con man?
Yes, it rubbed me the wrong way then, and if I hear it now, it still rubs me the wrong way because that was never my intent. I was good friends with Oak. I was good friends with Patrick. But I'm not trying to con them to play a different style to play against me. I mean, that to me is like attacking my basketball skills as a sense of saying, only way you win is you make these guys think that you like them. No, I actually do like them. Oakley almost tried to take my head off every time we played, and then we go to dinner afterwards.
Right.
You know, he played me no different than if he was playing me if I did go to dinner or I didn't go to dinner. I felt like that was inappropriate for him to say something like that.
The audio, paired with MJ's knowing laugh in later interviews, plays like a perfect call and response. Coach on the defensive, player on the throne. As commentator Johnny Kerr once said of Jordan, he can take the smallest thing and make it the biggest mountain to climb. That night, Van Gundy had unknowingly built Everest, and MJ, as always, planted his flag at the top. Can you imagine a man so fueled by a headline that he uses every possession to underline it? That's Michael Jordan. Petty turned into poetry. And in Chicago that night, the con man proved he was the realest thing in the building. The 1st of February, 1997, just a week removed from Jeff Van Gundy's ill-fated con man remark, another coach, another quote, another spark from Michael Jordan's competitive fire. This time it's George Karl, head coach of the Seattle Supersonics, the same man who had faced Jordan in the 1996 NBA Finals and walked away watching him lift another championship trophy. Right before tip-off, the courtside reporter set the stage for NBC's national audience.
You know, a few weeks ago, Knick coach Jeff Van Gundy, in effect, called Michael Jordan a con man. He reacted with a 51-point game. Well, this week, as you've seen in the pregame, George Karl said Michael Jordan was playing as if he didn't want to get hurt. I asked Michael about that, and he said George Karl is just playing mind games, and he really can't understand why he'd make a statement like that. And the thing that really confuses him is that would George Karl say these things if Michael Jordan played for the Sonics? He doesn't think so.
On the surface, it's a fairly harmless observation, maybe even accurate given Jordan's age and evolution. But between the lines, MJ hears something else. You're not the same anymore. You're avoiding contact. You can't dominate at the rim like you used to. For most players, this would be just another pregame comment brushed aside by tip-off. For Michael Jordan, it's a blueprint for revenge. Game night in Chicago. Bulls versus Sonics, and from the opening possession, it's clear he's going to settle this on his own terms. No drives, no dunks, no explosive attacks at the rim. First touch, one dribble, pull-up, swish. Next trip, catch, pivot, pull-up over Hersey Hawkins. Swish. He's playing chess while Karl thinks it's still checkers. By the midway point of the first quarter, the pattern is unmistakable. Elbow jumper, good. Fade away from the wing, good. Step back from 17 feet, good. The crowd starts to murmur, sensing this isn't just a hot shooting night, it's intentional. Each jumper is a message aimed squarely at the Sonics bench. If you think I can't beat you this way, I'll only play this way, and I'll still beat you. Then comes the exclamation point, the kind of moment that belongs in highlight reels forever. Late in the second quarter, Jordan brings the ball up, crosses the midcourt line, and without hesitation, rises from just inside the logo. The ball arcs high, the crowd gasps, and NBC's commentator erupts. Michael Jordan from way downtown. The net barely moves. Jordan doesn't pump his fist, doesn't grin. Instead, he glances toward George Karl's bench, expressionless, as if to say, "That one's for you." From there, it's surgical. Jordan keeps the Sonics at bay, using the same mid-range attack over and over. No matter who Seattle throws at him, Hawkins, Peyton, or a help defender, it doesn't matter. He's in a rhythm so pure that every shot feels inevitable. By the end of the night, his stat line reads like a dare fulfilled. 45 points on 1/6 of 2-5 shooting, almost all of them jumpers. After the game, a courtside reporter asked if Karl's remark about him trying not to get hurt was motivation. Jordan answered matter-of-factly,
Well, I mean, every time I step on the court, I got a sense of motivation. Playing the Sonics, we faced them in the finals, and they gave us a good run for our money. We know they're going to be contenders this year. I think Karl, what he's saying is, more or less trying to get me to go to the hole. I'm going to shoot my jump shot. Defense will give me the jump shot. I'm going to take it. If they want to let me go to the hole, open up the lane. I go to the hole, but they're not giving me the lanes to go to the hole, and I'm going to play my game. I'm not really going to let coaches dictate how I play the game.
Karl later tried to soften the narrative, telling reporters he was only commenting on the natural evolution of Jordan's game. But by then, the scoreboard and the stat sheet had already told the real story. As former Bull Bill Winnington once said, "When Michael decides how the game is going to be played, you're already finished. You just don't know it yet." When MJ chooses the terms of battle, you're not just playing the Bulls. You're playing against a man who's already decided the ending. And if you're the one who gave him the reason, good luck. The 30th of April, 1998, Continental Airlines Arena, East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Chicago Bulls are up 2-0 on the New Jersey Nets in the first round of the playoffs, one win away from a sweep. The Nets are young, scrappy, and led by an energetic head coach in John Calipari. And here's the thing, Calipari hasn't said a bad word about Michael Jordan. He hasn't questioned his age, hasn't doubted his game, hasn't baited him in the press, but from the moment the ball tips, he's a blur on the sideline. Pacing, clapping, yelling instructions, gesturing wildly at his players. It's just his style. High energy, non-stop. But to Jordan, it's a distraction. And for a man who can turn even the smallest slight into a personal mission, that's more than enough. Game 3 opens with the Nets trying to set a tone, fast-paced, pressure defense, pushing the ball up court. But MJ is locked in early. He starts in the post, punishing mismatches. One dribble fadeaway, pump fake, step through layup. Quick spin into a baseline jumper. The Nets defenders, Kendall Gill, Kerry Kittles, even a young Keith Van Horn, can't seem to take away his comfort spots. By the second quarter, Jordan's efficiency was surgical. NBC's Bob Costas notes, "When Michael gets to that mid-range, there's just nothing you can do." Meanwhile, Calipari is a constant presence on the edge of the court, his voice carrying through the crowd mics. He's shouting defensive switches, urging his team to get back in transition, waving his arms like a conductor trying to speed up the tempo. But for Jordan, that sideline noise only sharpens the blade. He doesn't respond with words. He responds with execution.
I practice as if I'm playing in a game. So when the moment comes in the game, it's not new to me. That's the beauty of the game of basketball. That's the reason why you practice. That's the effort. So when you get to that moment, you don't have to think. Instinctively, things happen.
Fade away over Kittles, swish. Pull up three in semi-transition, net. Another post-up, double team comes. He pivots, shoots anyway, bucket. By halftime, MJ had already poured in 20 points, and Calipari's voice was noticeably hoarse. In the third, Jordan turns the screws. Every possession is calculated, every move deliberate. The Nets, to their credit, keep scrapping, but the gap on the scoreboard begins to widen. Calipari is still pacing, still calling out plays, but the game is slipping. Fourth quarter, Jordan's sitting on 34. The Bulls slow it down, bleed the clock. Then, with just over 3 minutes left, MJ catches the ball on the left block. He sizes up Kittles, jab steps, rises for a jumper. Nothing but net. 36. On the next trip, he comes off a screen, catches at the elbow, fades away, 38. Game over. The camera catches it, Jordan walking back on defense, eyes locked across the court at Calipari. No words, just the look. Later, Calipari would tell reporters, "If he wants to stare at me, I'm not going to say anything to him. There's one thing I'd never do, say something to Michael Jordan." Because by 1998, every coach in the league knew engaging MJ, even unintentionally, was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Sometimes revenge doesn't come with a roar. Sometimes it's just a quiet, methodical dismantling. That night, Calipari learned that the hard way. Summer of 1994. Michael Jordan is deep in his baseball experiment, grinding away at the fundamentals with a minor league trainer. It's a completely different world from the NBA, but even here, the basketball shadows find him. Utah Jazz guard Bryon Russell, young, confident, eager, spots MJ working out and decides to introduce himself. "Why'd you quit?" Russell says with a smirk. "I could guard you." Jordan laughs in the moment, but inside, he files it away. With Michael, every challenge, every slight, every throwaway comment becomes part of a private ledger. And he always comes back to collect. Fast forward to the 1st of March, 1996. Jordan's back in red and black, the Bulls are a juggernaut again, and the Jazz are in Chicago for a regular season matchup. As the two teams step to center court for the opening tip, MJ makes his move. He leans in toward Russell, lowers his voice so only one man can hear, and says, "March 4th, you're about to get your chance." What happens next is the kind of thing that cements reputations and destroys others. Early in the game, Jordan gets the ball on the wing with Russell defending. One hard jab step freezes the Jazz guard. Then MJ crosses over so fast Russell's knees buckle. He stumbles. MJ rises up, and the jumper splashes through. The crowd erupts. The highlight instantly etched into memory. Nearly 30 years later, that clip still runs in NBA montages as the textbook example of a breaking ankles play. But Jordan doesn't just live in the moment. He plays the long game. The rivalry simmered over the next 2 seasons, and by the 19th of June, 98, it's boiling over on the game's biggest stage. The NBA Finals. Bulls versus Jazz again. Game 6 in Salt Lake City. Chicago is up 3-2 the series, but Utah is leading 86-83 with under a minute left. Jordan scores on a quick drive to cut it to 1. On the next possession, he strips Karl Malone in the post, and then, it's destiny. MJ dribbles up court, Russell between him and the title. The clock ticks under 10 seconds. Jordan drives hard to his right, Russell lunges to cut him off, and MJ plants, pulls back left. There's a moment, just a half step, where Russell's momentum carries him past. MJ rises, releases, and the ball arcs through the air. Swish. Bulls lead, 87-86. NBC's Bob Costas delivers the call. That may have been the last shot Michael Jordan will ever take in the NBA. It's the exclamation point on a second three-peat, and it comes, fittingly, over the very man who once thought he could stop him. Years later, in his Hall of Fame speech, Jordan brought up Russell by name, grinning as he told the story.
When I first met Bryon Russell, John and Karl, remember this, I was in Chicago in 1994. I was working out for baseball. They came down for a workout and shoot around. I came over to say hello. And at this time, I had no thoughts of coming back and playing a game of basketball. And Bryon Russell came over to me and said, "You know what, man, why'd you quit? Why'd you quit? You know I can guard you. If I ever see you in a pair of shorts, You remember this, John?" And so when I did decide to come back in 1995, and then we played Utah in 96, I'm at the center circle, and Bryon Russell sitting next to me, and I look over to Bryon. I said, "You remember this conversation you made in 1994 about I think I can guard you, I can shut you down, I would love to play against you. Well, you about to get your chance." And believe me, ever since that day, he got his chance.
That's the essence of MJ's competitive soul. And when the moment comes, he doesn't just answer once. He answers twice, a regular season crossover and a finals dagger, both at your expense. If someone called you out years ago, would you remember? Michael Jordan did. And he made sure Bryon Russell and the entire basketball world would never forget either. The 10th of February, 1985, Indianapolis, Indiana. Michael Jordan, just 21 years old, is stepping onto the floor for his first NBA All-Star game. The stage is perfect for a rookie coronation. The sneakers are flying off shelves. The dunks are still fresh in everyone's mind from his early months with the Bulls, and the cameras can't get enough of him. But behind the curtain, the whispers are growing. Rumor has it veteran point guard Isiah Thomas, Chicago native, Pistons leader and fierce competitor, isn't exactly thrilled about the kid stealing the spotlight. The story goes that Isiah orchestrated a freeze-out, quietly convincing the Eastern Conference stars to limit their passes to Jordan. True or not, the effect is undeniable. MJ is stranded on the wing, possessions pass him by, and by the final buzzer, the box score shows just 7 points. For most rookies, that would have been a humbling footnote. For Michael Jordan, it was an entry in a debt ledger. But years later, MJ reflected on this moment with perspective.
And I'm gonna thank a couple people that you guys probably wouldn't even think that I would thank. Isiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, George Gervin. Now they say it was a so-called freeze-out in my rookie season. I wouldn't have never guessed, but you guys gave me the motivation to say, you know what? Evidently I haven't proved enough to these guys. I gotta prove to them that I deserve what I've gotten on this level. And no matter what people may have said, if it was a rumor, I never took it as truth, but you guys never froze me out because I was just happy to be there, no matter how you look at it.
2 nights later, the Pistons rolled into Chicago for a regular season game. This is no longer the smiling rookie enjoying his first All-Star weekend. This is a man with a score to settle. From the opening tip, Jordan goes right at Detroit's defense. He slashes through the lane, soars over big men, and punishes every mismatch. The stat sheet starts to swell. Fadeaway jumpers, transition dunks, pull-up mid-range shots. By the end of regulation, he's already near the 40-point mark. In overtime, he sealed it, finishing with 49 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists in a 139-126 Bulls win. Message received. But this wasn't the kind of rivalry that ended with one statement game. Over the next 5 years, the Bulls and Pistons would clash repeatedly in the playoffs, and more often than not, Detroit's infamous bad boys would send Jordan home battered and empty-handed. The Jordan Rules defense, hatched by Chuck Daly and executed by Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, and Joe Dumars, was designed to hit him hard, force him outside, and wear him down. For a while, it worked. 3 straight playoff exits to Detroit from 1988 to 1990 made it clear that if MJ wanted the crown, he'd have to go through them. Finally, in 1991, everything changed. Jordan had added muscle, refined his game, and the Bulls had grown into a balanced, battle-tested unit. In the Eastern Conference Finals, they didn't just beat Detroit, they swept them. And with seconds left in Game 4, instead of congratulating the new Kings, the Pistons walked off the floor without shaking hands. Isiah Thomas was among them. To Jordan, that wasn't just poor sportsmanship, it was personal disrespect. Months later, the 1992 Dream Team roster was announced, and Thomas's name was nowhere to be found. Officially, it was about team chemistry. Unofficially, the rumor mill exploded. The loudest whisper? Jordan told USA Basketball he wouldn't play if Isiah was on the team. In The Last Dance, MJ denied it. But the smirk as he said, "I respect Isiah's game," but left plenty to the imagination. Some debts are paid in points, others are paid in history. And with Isiah Thomas, Michael Jordan made sure to settle both. The 19th of March, 1993, Capitol Center, Landover, Maryland. On paper, it's just another regular season game. The defending champion Chicago Bulls rolling into town to face the lowly Washington Bullets. But for one night, the script flips. LaBradford Smith, a quiet, unassuming guard in just his second season, plays the game of his life. He drops 37 points on Michael Jordan's team, hitting jumpers, attacking the rim, playing with a confidence few had seen from him before. The Bullets win, and in the box score, Smith outshines the best player in the world. That's the version you see in the stats. The version you hear from Jordan? Different. According to him, as the 2 teams walked off the court, Smith passed by and said, "Nice game, Mike." Just 4 words. 4 words that, in Jordan's mind, might as well have been a slap in the face. The next night, the rematch was set in Chicago, and MJ made it clear there would be no encore for LaBradford Smith. From the opening tip, Jordan hunted him. Post-ups, pull-ups, drives, everything went straight at Smith. By halftime, the scoreboard told the story. 36 points for Jordan, already eclipsing Smith's total from the night before. The Bulls crowd, sensing blood, roared with every bucket. By the end of the night, MJ had poured in 47, and the Bulls had blown the Bullets out of the building. As Bulls broadcaster Johnny Kerr put it during the telecast, When Michael takes something personally, you're in trouble. But here's the twist. Years later, in The Last Dance, Jordan admitted the whole thing never happened. LaBradford Smith never said, "Nice game, Mike." Jordan made it up. He fabricated the insult. Why? Because he needed something to light the fire. And if no one was willing to hand him fuel, he'd create it himself. That's the Jordan psyche. Relentless, unyielding, and willing to turn even fiction into a weapon. Think about that for a second. If Michael Jordan could demolish an opponent over an insult that never existed, what could he do with a real one? For Smith, that night in Chicago was the full force of Jordan's competitive mind, a one-man storm summoned out of thin air. Michael Jordan wasn't just a scorer, he was a surgeon of slights. He cataloged every word, every sideline snub, every rook's casual jibe. And then he answered, precisely, decades later, with shots and chills that turned legends into folklore. From Van Gundy's newspaper quip to the all-star freeze-out, every slight became a setup. MJ didn't respond in kind, he responded in performance. So, next time the world underestimates you, remember, sometimes the best revenge is your performance, documented in highlights and whispered in legends. Which revenge was the most satisfying to watch? And which one do you think still lives rent-free in MJ's head? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you like this video, don't forget to press the subscribe button and ring the bell to not miss the latest videos from Amazing Hoops. This action also motivates us to try harder. Have a nice day.